Hi guys, Arlene from Hidden and Eden here. Today I'm going to talk about cutting your own fringe. I know it sounds a little bit scary, but it's actually a lot easier than people think. In the salon I have a lot of people come to me, probably 3 or 4 a day, saying, oh, don't judge me, I cut my fringe, it's probably a terrible job. And you know what, most of the time, unless it is really, really bad, I can hardly tell that it's been done themselves. The biggest thing is to cut a little bit longer than you want because it does spring up. If you have a cowlick, then it gets a little bit tricky, but if you've got a standard fringe, it can be kind of simple, and I'm going to show you how simple it can be. If you try it, you know you're doing it at your own risk, and it could take a couple of times. It's a little bit of trial and error. I've been cutting my own fringe since I was about 14, long before I was a hairdresser. Now, basically what you want to do first is decide what kind of fringe you want. So, at the moment I'm in a desperate need of a haircut. My fringe is really long and heavy and flat and falling in my eyes. But I would say at the moment it's a side fringe. And if you've not had a fringe before and you're thinking about trying a fringe, a side fringe is the best way to start. If you've got a cowlick, also I recommend, if you want to cut it yourself, start with a side fringe. If you're starting out and you haven't really done it before, you're probably best to start with something slightly longer that can be swept to the side in case it doesn't work, and probably thinner rather than thicker until you get your experience up and you can work from that. Now, the best thing is you need to have a proper pair of scissors. If they're not sharp, it's going to be quite difficult, and you can get, these are my scissors, they are proper hairdressing scissors, but you can get something pretty similar. What you're looking for is the point on the end, so that you can come in and that point helps you to direct where you're going and pick up hair and what have you. So you can get scissors basically like this from a pharmacy or even a supermarket. I've seen them recently for about maybe $10, $20 max, which is worth it. When you get them, only use them for cutting hair. You want them to have their sharpness so that they don't bend the hair when you cut. You want them to actually cut your hair. You'll also need sectioning clips. You can just use bobby pins or claw clips, whatever, to get your hair out of the way, and a comb. I've got a cutting comb, but any similar comb like this will work. Now, the third and probably the most important trick, I think I briefly said it before, was make sure you cut it dry. Never ever cut your fringe wet. That's just asking for a disaster. What happens when it's wet is it stretches, and when you're pulling it with your fingers, you're stretching it even more. So you're going to cut it to the length you think you want, but then when it's dry, it's going to spring up, and there's nothing worse than a fringe that's too short, especially if it's your first time. You're going to lose your confidence and you're not going to want to do it again. So make sure your hair is dry when you cut your fringe. The length that you want it, choose somewhere on your face. I usually go about the bridge of my nose. That's where I aim to cut, and it usually ends up sitting, once it's dried and found its place, about there. Before you start, choose an area on your face that's your guideline. So if you want it this length, choose the top of your lip. I'm going to go a little bit shorter with mine. First, start by taking a semicircle section around your face, sectioning the hair you want to cut. Comb the hair straight down, leaving a gap to see through. Again, section out half the hair that is there and pin it out of the way. Comb straight forward and bring your finger to the point at which you want to cut. Bring the middle section of hair out just enough so you can see what you are doing, and begin to cut your first guideline, iron chip cutting. Then take some hair from the middle section and some from the side section. You will use the guideline of the middle section to cut the side section the same length. And repeat that on the opposite side, making sure you're happy with the length and the evenness. Then pull out the second section of your fringe and join with the section that is already cut. You repeat the previous steps using the bottom section as your guideline and cut the top section to the same length. And using the scissors freehand, clean up any stray hairs that may be getting in your eyes. Now place your fingers about 2 inches from the ends, and very slowly and very carefully Use the scissors to point cut into the section, being very careful not to cut your fingers. This adds a little texture. Now bring in the hair from the side so you can connect it all together. Use the comb to direct the side section of the hair towards the middle section. Now cut on a diagonal motion. The over direction creates a semicircle line shaping the face. Again, go freehand to neaten up the edges around your face. And there you have it, a fringe which has changed my look quite a bit. It feels like I've had a lift off. As you can see, it is slightly shorter than my, the bridge of my nose is what I aimed for, and it has, I don't know why, but for some reason it always does end up half an inch shorter than what you set out to be. So give it a go. If you look closely at mine, it's not very even. Doesn't have to be, nobody else is going to notice. Get practicing, and before you know it, you'll be able to cut your own fringe perfectly fine, and you'll be saving money from popping into the salon now and then. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. See you again next time.